I think this is the my first experience of this an open discourse with people regarding this new education policy. We have discussed in the uh, drafts actually. There are so many drafts actually came. Nobody knows which is the original, etc., etc. And at last, in the during the pandemic period itself, it came. So I think it is very. We have to discuss in detail, but I don't know whether we can do that today because it needs more and more time. And and we have to internalize also the document. Everybody should read the document and internalize. Then, if we go for a discussion, then it will be more fruitful. We can make use of this today's discussion as an entry point to the national policy. Many people seems they feel that there are so many positive aspects in the document, and through the media, etc., etc., I am also hearing some of the reflections of people. Because of the presence of some of the academics in the drafting committee, one can see beautiful and academically sound narrations regarding education. It seems very progressive and goes in tandem with the modern trends of education. There are universally accepted statements and words throughout the document. That is the difficulty of the document for analyzing the document. For that, we have to read the lines, we have to read in between, and we have to read through the lines also. Then only we can understand what is the actual meaning, what is the actual purpose, what kind of a perspective that the document is actually putting forward. I'll read some of the words in the document. Education thus must move towards less content and more towards learning about how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, and how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new materials in novel and changing fields. Pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry driven, discovery oriented, learner centered, discussion based, flexible, and of course, enjoyable. Nobody can, no, we all can agree with these words actually. There is no doubt. These are the, I am actually reading what is there in the policy document. So there is no need of opposing these terminologies. So if you go to the principles of this policy, we can, there again, you can see to develop a good human beings capable of rational thought and action, possessing compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific temper, and creative imagination with a sound ethical moorings and values. It aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society as envisaged by our Constitution. It also says emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for examinations. So again, listen, learning for examinations. This is their principle, and what they have done that I will tell you later. Creativity and critical thinking to encourage logical decision making and innovation. Ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, courtesy, democratic spirit, spirit of service, respect for public property, scientific temper, liberty, responsibility, pluralism, equality, and justice. Education is a public service. Access to quality education must be considered as basic right for every child. These are the words from the document. It is, if you are very serious, and if you go in depth in the actual document, then we can understand that these kinds of flowery words statements are not enough to deceive the citizen of the country. Now, once again, if you read it seriously, then you can understand the structure of the whole policy. It is built upon centralization, negating the federal structure of the country, privatization and commercialization, communalization, depoliticization. Of course, if it is privatization, commercial communication, communalization, it will naturally lead to depoliticization and the conscious intention of the state withdrawal from its responsibility of providing education. In earlier period, from 1987 onwards, there is a tendency of transferring the public education, especially the higher education, to private parties. It started from 1987 policy onwards. But this policy is actually trying to commercialize, trying to hand over the whole school system itself into the public property to the private parties. That is the actual intention of the document. Then it will be very easy to communalize also. And the policy document is consciously discards and upsets
Okay.
equity, justice, equal opportunity, and access parity, social security, national development, etc., etc. The academics, they have written something. If you go in depth, the actual policy, a policy document is not an academic document. A policy document, we have to analyze the policy document politically. Not some kind of an academic flavor we can see. The academics won't, the academic terminology won't determine. The political terminology, the political intention will survive. That is, a policy is a political document of the country. The national education policy is the politics of education of this country. So by seeing the good words, whatever we would like, then we can't say that this document is upholding those things. So if you go in depth, then we can see the element of centralization, the element of privatization and commercialization and corporatization, communalization everywhere, depoliticization, and the state's withdrawal. It is very evident from its basic responsibility of providing education. I am actually concentrating on school education, but nobody can concentrate in one area. That is the basic thing. That is the basic nature of this document. We are not blindly opposing. We are actually telling all these things with evidences. That is there taken from the document itself, not because of that opposing the government or the policy blindly. No, if we read it, the document with an understanding regarding education, then we can understand all these things. How the policy enables the state government to over centralize all powers or capturing powers of the state, even though education is said to be in the concurrent list. Now I am using the word said to be. It is in the concurrent list actually. Before 1975, it was actually state list. Education was a part of the state list. Now, during emergency, it became a central list, but when the constitutional amendment made, it is actually placed in the concurrent list. So capturing the powers, the limited powers of the state through policies of installing new apex bodies, through programs, through curriculum, centralizing the curriculum, and for implementing, for capturing all these, the government is actually proposing different kinds of bodies, new bodies. For example, Higher Education Commission of India, proposing a new body. National Research Foundation. Under higher education, there are four different types of category of subsections. Just like National Higher Education Regulatory Council, a single point regulator for regulating higher education all over the country. National Accreditation Council, or Higher Education and General Education Council for setting academic standards. So everything you now, what is the purpose of a university? It is not for the whole nation. It is a diverse country. So the very purpose of universities are actually questioning by the policy itself. And National Research Foundation, National Testing Agency, to be aware of the National Testing Agency, National Assessment Center, it is PARC, it is known as PARC. National Committee for Integration of Vocational Education, the National Education Technology Forum, Professional Standard Setting Body, and National Committee of Vocational Education, National Foundation Education Technology for I told, National Professional Standard for Teachers. In this way, everything become national. We are not against national. If it upholds the federal nature of the country, and by following the basic educational principles, then we can have some kind of a negotiation. Here, there is no freedom. As a part of this, they have said that national textbook with local content and flavor, and then NCERT will prepare textbook for the whole country, and the state want and something they can propose prepare some kind of a supplementary material. In that way, it is against any kind of educational principle. What is education? It is relating what a child learns with its surroundings, with its life or its surroundings. That is why in education, school education, we are all talking about that near to far, from concrete to abstract, local to global. Now the central government from NCERT will determine textbook, not curriculum frame. Curriculum frame will be there, but even textbook, what a teacher in a class of Karnataka have to teach, it will be determined in class 1 or in the preschool. It will be determined by a national agency. No. How absurd it is. How can we, the earlier good terminologies, it won't go to the first part. I have told what are the flowery terminologies in the beginning of, in the first part of the document. It is not going with that. Even that, yes, that you can the purpose of this document. So my observation is that the main purpose or intention of creation of these new national bodies are for creating multiple pathways. They want multiple pathways for centralizing all affairs of education and destroying the least possibilities of diversity and make everything monolithic through bureaucratization. They will make use of bureaucracy for imposing the policy. So centralization always will go with bureaucratization and mix only the era of education. That is going to happen. Because if NCERT will do anything, there is no scope of the state teachers or state people to develop any kind of material. So in that way, the academics won't have any say. The education slowly take away from the academics' hand, and it will be given to the managerial as well as those managers and technocrats. Because this technology, they are proposing in a large scale technology support for education. That means the managerial wing and the technological wing, the technocrats will determine what you have to teach in the classroom. The teachers will function as a player only. Their role is not, there is no scope for creating everything. They have to obey what what they have got. Their role will be limited to, I am not respecting the postman. Their role will be the postman role. Why it is postman? Because postman won't have no authority to correct anything inside your letter. Their role is to deliver only. You can't touch what is there inside. So the teacher's role will be just like a postman role. What is there in the prescribed educational material, you have to deliver it mechanically. And from class 3rd onwards, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 10th, 12th, there are examinations to check you whether you are actually doing anything valid or accordingly. Then there are mechanism for assessing mechanism for that. So this is how the autonomy of this. It is not curtailing the autonomy of the state. It is curtailing the autonomy of an individual teacher also through this centralization. That is why, as we all know, as per Constitution, India is a federal state. Through over centralization, they are actually, the beauty of the country is federal nature. They are actually destroying the beauty of the federal nature, the diversity, everything. They want everything to be monolithic, and it will be decided in one center, whether it is a political center or not. So all the good words, academically sound words, in the initial phase of the document become irrelevant. All teachers. So I'll talk some more regarding the curriculum. What it is written for everyone. 31. Textbook contain that I don't know who will be that important. But at the same time, contain any desired nuances and supplementary materials as per local context and needs. Then, if there is anything you can add as a supplementary material, that is the only role of the state. Whereas, then what I am saying, the document, all textbooks shall, I once again read, all textbooks shall aim to contain the essential core material together with the discussions, core material deemed important on a national level. Here I raise a question. Who will determine that? Who will determine that it is deemed important? But at the same time contain any desired nuances in details and supplementary material as per local context and needs. If you feel something very important, then there is a scope for you to add supplement. That is the only how it is actually developing textbooks in by the states. So at the same time, you see, if decisions will be taken at one central point, what will be the danger? We have the of COVID. The CBSE, nobody knows when the school is going to open. The schools will function normally. Nobody knows. But CBSE already declared 30% cut for COVID. Then and the blade had gone where the cutting blade had gone in those places within the textbooks where anything regarding secularism, anything regarding distribution equity, I am not using the terminology socialism. It is unfortunately, it is there in our constitution. And even evolution, biology evolution, they have removed evolution. Now you see, how can we justify this cutting of the syllabus ad hocly without any understanding when the schools are going to work? What is the scientific? There are scientific ways of placing the concept. So there are scientific ways for doing this. Without doing these kind of things, this is the intention. So if decision is taking in one center, that center will determine which is deemed important. That is why in the policy document it says that if you feel deemed important, then who will determine? The body. According to, it is not because of this, it is not an academic decision, it is an arbitrary decision. These arbitrary decisions will prevail. Academic decisions, they won't seek the advice of the academics. And once again, and this is regarding the centralization. And what is the scope of privatization? There some questions are actually asking about the privatization. Privatization. Till today, we have an act, that is RT, Right to Education Act. It is a right of the child. Education is the right of the child, at least up to 6 to 14 years of age. This document says that they will ensure universal access to from age 3 to 18. They are actually saying it is that they will universalize education from that age group. The policy, but we should be very careful and listen it carefully that it is not their right. In our constitution, before 2009, education is placed under directive principle. And then for students from 6 to 14 age group, through this act, now it is the right of the child. As per this document, they are least bothered about the RT. Least bothered about RT. And in RT, a school is defined. And in RT, it is mentioned what does a school means. What are the minimum facilities for a school? It is very clear in RT. And this document says that even after RT, more than 3 crores of children are out of school children. 3.22 crores children are out of school. And what is the remedy? The reality is that even after RT, there are single teacher schools. More than 1 lakh schools in the country is only with a teacher, single teacher school. As per the act, RT, it is minimum 2 teachers. But even after that, the central government or the state governments are not complying the least minimum requirement. It is the right of the child having a teacher inside the class. Instead of doing that, to address the crisis, this policy actually proposes the provision for setting up of alternate models of education. Alternate models of education. If you want a single teacher schools, it is okay. If any, that is both mixing the informal and formal systems. There is scope for formal system, there is scope for informal system also. School is not defined in the policy. There is no need of defining a school as per this policy. and open school, the national open school and state open schools will accredit the children. They will conduct examinations for and they will conduct the examination and give equivalency from for class 3, 5, 8, 10, 12. It is there in the document. If you read it, you can find in the document now what is this actually? Now our child, the poor, this marginalized community, disadvantaged group, socially backward people, minority, they are actually even today after 73 years of independence, even today they are denied this elementary education. And the document, as a remedy to that, the document says that any informal organizations can start schools. There won't be any regulations for that. The regulations, they are saying that it should be light but tight. I don't know what it is. Less input, more output. These are the terminologies. Less input and more output. I don't know what is the mechanism of getting more output if you provide less input. I have no idea regarding this. And the setting off for the provision of above alternate school models will provide scope for international education malls for the elite to street market for the marginalized. Now, as while we are going along with the road, we can see 5-star hotels. At the same time, you can cycle rickshaws also selling roti and that kind of a thing. So that means now it is a proliferating low-cost business malls, business centers for these kind of small scale. And I suspect in many parts of the country, this is my suspicion. Not only my suspicion, I say the country. Yesterday, one BJP leader in the discussion, they openly told that we are conducting so many Ekal Vidyalayas all over the country in tribal areas. So this will give us more space to work that. They are openly telling, then why should we hesitate to tell that? They are openly telling that it is actually legitimizing single teacher Ekal Vidyalayas in predominantly in the tribal regions run by these communal forces. So this now it is very clear what is the intention of the central government is very clear through this provision. So from here starts the privatization, and the document also says in 3.6 it says that to make it easier for both the government as well as non-governmental philanthropic organizations to build schools, to encourage local variation on account of culture, geography and demographies, and to allow alternative model of education, the requirement for school will be made less restrictive. The requirements of school will be made less restrictive. The focus will be to have less emphasis on input and greater emphasis on output potential concerning desired learning outcomes. Regulation on inputs will be limited to certain areas, and if you go in chapter 8 point something, you can understand very clear that what does it mean, how this. So what I am saying that it is not only, this is actually this provision of allowing these kind of people in the alternative schools and allowing the volunteers, the social activists as teachers. They can determine, there is no need of, nobody will, in the document itself it says that those who are interested in teaching, they can do the teaching in those kind of schools. for one-to-one teaching. There are so many things in the document itself. There is no time, so I don't want to go in detail. We can discuss it in detail later. So what I am feeling that this clause is according to me, it is a terminator seed as far as school education is concerned. Teachers you won't bother that much because there won't be any need of a teacher. Because they are talking about teacher professionalism, etc., etc. If these kind of malls will come, then there won't be any appointed teacher. In the document, they are not bothered about teacher appointment. It is for the first time in any document of the country, they are talking about hiring of teachers. If there is hiring, it will inevitably it will follow firing also. Hiring and firing will go together. So we can't say that if permanent teacher appointment will be there or not. So in the document itself it says that you can hire teachers in large numbers. Okay, so what I told, we can go quickly. What I told is that all these provisions are providing enough scope for privatization and commercialization and corporatization. And if you go further, then look 4.28 of this document. It speaks about the values to be inculcated. What are the values to be inculcated? Such as basic ethical reasoning, traditional Indian values, and all basic human and constitutional values, such as they are actually listing. Seva, Ahimsa, Swachhata, Satya, Nishkamagama, Shanti, sacrifice, tolerance, diversity, in that way. And they are talking about the democratic outlook, not democracy. And in that there is no scope for secularism. That is also a value system actually. Secularism is a value system. So there is no space for democracy and secularism in the value system. Will develop in all students. And in the policy document, no, if it is in an action plan or even in a curriculum, then I can understand. Children will have the opportunity to read and learn from original stories of Panchatantra, Jataka, Hitopanishads, and other fun fables. No, you see, I don't know the relevance of placing these, prescribing, this is a prescription, prescribing these books here. It is after, even in the curriculum framework, there is no need of this, even the curriculum framework, there is no scope for these kind of the stories. What kind of stories? In the details, while forming the details, curriculum details, then you can prescribe that we can read all these kind of books. You can make use of these kind of books, and you have to give proper exposure to the children by using these kind of books. Then I can understand. I don't know why the policy itself is saying that you have to, that a policy means it is a prescription and everything is going to centralize. That means we all will be very sure what kind of a textbook that you are going to get. So these all things are that it is naturally, there is no word like secularism, there is no word like democracy. Democratic outlook is there, democracy, and there is no word like socialism like things. That is, it is actually very clear. And also in 4.28 again, the document says that students will be taught at the young age the importance of doing what is right, and will be given logical framework for making ethical decisions. In a world order where these kind of discrimination, inequalities remain, who will determine what is right? Whether everything will become right in all context determine what is right and what is wrong. Here here the national text prescribing the national textbook and saying that students will be taught at a young age that doing what is right. That means earlier in the beginning I told you that the academics argue that for critical thinking there is no scope for critical thinking by looking the social dynamism of the life around, by looking the exploitation that the child is actually feeling and the child is being undergone, his or her family is actually being exploited. He or she can't ask question, then it will be wrong actually, it is not right. So what does it mean actually? In a policy document, where in a country where discrimination, inequality and everything is, and obscurantism, anti-science, everything is a reality, propagating obscurantism and anti-science is a right, it will become a right thing. If I oppose that, then it will become a wrong. I will be punished. The system can take any kind of action. If I question, then what is the scope of critical thinking? What is the meaning of critical thinking then? So they want blind followers. The policy demands blind followers through the education system. That is my argument while reading all these kind of things. That is my observation. Read the portion, the section 4.27. It is also very important. All of us know that we are living in a world of knowledge. Knowledge determines, not a land or anything. Knowledge determines. We can cheat anybody if you have enough knowledge and some strategy. That is how all kind of cheating happened in the business world through advertisement. We are all following the advertisement because likewise. So what I am saying here, we are for knowledge. It is universal. We are living in that kind of a world where the dominant forces want to privatize knowledge and they want to make knowledge as a commodity, and we are actually fighting for universalization of knowledge and democratization of knowledge. So knowledge is not it is not limited to India alone. If the boiling point of water, if it is 100 degree in certain conditions, it is not India's alone, it is a universal truth. So there is no absolute truth, but there are universal truth. Absolute truth, only religion have absolute truth. The universal truth means it may change accordingly. Science is a universal truth, whatever. Anyway. So here it is limited. Knowledge of India will include knowledge from ancient India, because the majority, they want to be put in that kind of an environment where discussion about ancient India. I am not against discussing ancient India. There is no harm. But if you put everything there in the basket, if you see only ancient India, then it will become problematic. And its contribution to modern India. That is why aeroplane. Our scientists and our ministers are actually telling that aeroplane in ancient India we have that technology. Plastic surgery in ancient India we have that technology, and that is what it is saying, that in ancient India and its contribution to modern India and its success and challenges, the clear sense of India's future aspiration with regarding health and wealth in that way. So we are actually talking about a universal brotherhood. We are actually talking about that kind of a citizen who have to work by using knowledge, analyzing knowledge for the humanity, not for Indian people only, for the whole human race, for the humanity. So it is actually limiting. I am not reading all these things, and then it will be very interesting. You can understand the lines itself. So this is in one way or other way to promote the interest of the dominant and sectarian elements. My observation is that this will, if we follow this policy, the policy suggestions, that will limit to promote the interest of the dominant and sectarian elements. So beware of all these kind of things. Yeah, then 3 points I'll tell, and I'll, for the time being, I'll stop. Then is it is very interesting how to. We all of us know that the Kothari Commission in '66 they proposed a school complex. Their school complex is for sharing the resources. Their school will be a unit. Complex is a federal structure. It is some kind of an association. Actually, it is not a unit. School complex is not a unit. It is a federative nature. Schools with different schools come together. They will share their expertise, whatever thing, for their better, for an internal mechanism for betterment. Here, a new form is actually suggested. It is for even after 10 years of, more than 10 years of RTE, there are more than 10 lakh teacher vacancies in India. The government is not speaking about how to fill that teacher vacancy, how they are going to do the teacher appointment. No. Now what is for overcoming that, they are placing school complex as a unit of administration. Usually schools will be a unit of administration. If this policy come into force, then school complex, it is a cluster of 10-15 schools together, and for the 10-15 schools together, there will be, the teachers will be appointed to the school complex, not to schools. If anybody asks where are you working, you will say that I am working in a particular school. Now there is no scope for telling that. Now the schools are, the teachers will be appointed to school complexes, and there will one head only for the school complex. So Kothari Commission prescribed the 1968 and 1986 policy, the understanding regarding school complex, and the present proposal of school complex, it is not one and same. The name is same. Now the school instead of SMC, there will be School Complex Management Committee, SCMC. The school complex will have a unit. When the teachers can go, the headmaster will allow teachers. That means there won't be any committed teacher for the school, and whoever there, I don't know what kind of a committed teaching community, what is the scope of a committed teaching community to work in without understanding which is my school. This is the school complex will be, and there will be one library. I don't know how each and every student of different schools will make use of one lab or one library, etc., etc. I have no idea what is the understanding. It is not clear how they are going to make it practicable. So it is also in the lower level, no, in one way, because if alternate centers are coming, they want to stop all the schools. They want to if school closure or merger happen all over the country, the experience is that people started agitating. So this is a strategy to eliminate, to close the formal schools by saying that in the document itself they are saying that they are not economically optimal. Schools are not economic, means the term economic, it is related to market, not to schools. Schools, if it is the right of the child, then it is the duty of the system to provide education for the child. If in an area there are only 30 children, it is not the fault of the parents or the children that they belong to that area. Their native place is that area. It is not a fault of the parents. How the parents become culprits then? This policy become that you are the culprit, and there are not enough students in that school, so it is not economically viable. For that, the whole the 10 to 20 schools come together having a complex. So schools become irrelevant. The present school become irrelevant, and there will be a one school. A school is not in for a particular set of schools. The school complex will come, and that will be the administrative unit. That is one thing. Second, in the initial phase, they are talking against examination. As I told you that it is the policy is proposing exam judge. It is exam judge. An exam for class 3. How do we academically justify a common exam for class 3 child? The government, without providing schools, without providing teachers, without providing basic facilities, without providing a material textbook or anything, how can the system assess the child in class in the age of 8 commonly? And the National Assessment Center, PARAC, will determine the standard of the child of my Kasaragod, my rural village. It is absurd actually. From class 3, 5, that means the system, it is very clear, the intention is clear. The system want to eliminate the majority of the children by making them feel that I am an idiot through the examination, one size fit for all. That is the basic principle. And by preparing a yardstick by sitting in the national level, without understanding the reality, by enhancing the discriminatory nature, how can a system, that means this policy is a policy of, not the policy of inclusion, it is a policy of exclusion. That is what I said. By reading the first part, we can't become very happy. Why? Because all those terminologies are very progressive. But if you enter into the policy, then you can see these kind of policy measures by throwing away, by pushing out, not dropping out. The system want to minimize dropout. For that, they want to push out children. For minimizing dropout, they want to push out the children. So these are the measures that we can see the whole document. Okay, then 2-3 points. Just mentioning one is regarding the structure of education. Now we are following a 10+2. It is also an academic structure, not an administrative structure. It is an academic structure. Now they are actually changing the new policies and envisaging a new structure that is from 3 to 8 years. That is the initial structure. Then it is known as the 3 to 8, it is known as a foundational stage. Then from class 3, 4, 5 as a preparatory stage, class 6 to 8, that 3 years Anganwadi or preschool plus class 1 and 2. That is the foundational stage. It is of 5 years. Then the preparatory stage 3, 4, 5 of 3 years as a preparatory stage. Then 6, 7, 8. That is the middle stage. Then 9, 10, 11, 12 as the secondary stage. That and in the secondary stage there is the 10th board exam and 12th board exam. It will continue. And if a child want to exit at the class after 10 years of schooling, the child can. So all these facilities are there. But the understanding is that all the children will get common thing up to class 10 years, up to class 10. That is a common thing, no segregation. And in graduation, after 12th standard, it is subject oriented. For preparing the child for that, subjects will club together and have 2 years of in certain part of the country the PUC is still existing. Otherwise, it is higher secondary. It is known as higher secondary stage. 2 years subject grouping pattern. Now it is it is proposed to change it totally. 10th year, after 10 years of schooling, there is an examination. We don't know whether it will not be known as SLC or not. That I have no idea. The document doesn't say about that. There is because in degree also they are proposing after 1 year certificate, diploma, degree, then professional, 4 years. In that way, I don't know what is going to. And they are proposing modular examination. That means there might be one exam or more than one exam per year. From 9th to 12th, there is a possibility of breaking this as semesters. And there might be 8 semesters, 2 semesters per year. There is a scope. We don't know if the detail will come after some time. Then we can understand. So in that way, this curriculum, the understanding regarding this is up to 10th years because of the considering the age of the child. That each and every child must get some common desirable content. After that, the child can start diversifying, and in the graduation they can have that subject teachers combination. So this is the understanding. Now the system is actually break that one. Secondly, regarding language is very interesting. I am actually for this introducing mother tongue. The logic, academic logic is that the language, you can acquire more things through the language you know. That is the thing. The mother tongue in the early years, it is good. That is no doubt. But the document, language is placed politically. It is not academically placed. If you read, that is what I say, that we have to read the document. The policy document is a political document. So you have to read the document politically. Not only with an academic mindset. Politically, with an academic mindset. You have to read the document politically. Politically means not party politics. No. I have read the document with my politics. What is my politics? My politics is that school education should be the right of the children up to 18 years. Here it is not made as a right. Here only mentioning ensuring universal access. It is limited to access. The document it is actually watering the Right to Educational Act, which is there in the country. It is watering actually. So my politics is that it should be the right of the child. My politics is that it is the duty of this government, the system, to provide school education. It is a duty of the government to provide education. Hence, there won't be any scope for alternate schools. You have to define schools. It is the right of the child to have a teacher inside the class. It is the right of the child to have getting proper learning materials in time. So in that way, it is the right. It should be the right, and the government should provide that. And it should be inclusive. No scope for exclusion. It should be inclusive. Social justice, equity are non-negotiables. For me, social justice and equity are non-negotiable. The child will get justice inside the campus. If a child wants to get a justice inside a class means, inside the campus means the child's ability should be recognized, respect, and there should be provision for upgrading to maximizing their talent. Each and every child is born with different talents. So each talent should be a place in the campus. That is social justice for me. That is justice for me. It should be inclusive. So I actually read the document with this understanding, whether it is even after 73 years of independence, whether our children, my children, is getting justice in a democratic country. That's why I am actually critiquing this in this way, and I feel that there is no scope even in the new document. So education is the fundamental to both individual evolution as well as the development of the society. It is not a mere individual affair. It is a social affair. It is a cultural affair also. education is a cultural action. If you believe education is a cultural action, then we have to read the document accordingly. If we believe education should be inclusive, then we have to read the document accordingly. If we feel that it should uphold equity, equality and social justice, we have to read accordingly. And if we believe that it should be the duty of the state to provide, then we have to look the whole thing accordingly. So I request each and all of my teacher friends to read the 86 policy, the 68 policy, that is the first policy after Kothari Commission, then the 86 policy, after that that policy, Ramamurthy Commission, which is implemented in 92, so it is 82/92 policy. So you have to read that, and you have to read carefully this document. If this document policy came into full force, there is no scope for teachers. The way in which we are actually living, there shall be instructors or facilitators. Those are the market terminologies. The market terminologies will sustain, and the social force terminology will fade. That is what I am actually seeing in the document. So it is high time to understand the document and take your position. Take your position. That is what I am talking, not our position. Take your position. This is what I want to say as a prelude for helping you to read the document regarding school education. I didn't touch vocationalization. I didn't touch teacher education. I didn't touch the modern technology part. That we can discuss after some time.
There is time for another 30 seconds. I would like to react to this mother tongue being the medium of instruction in primary school, sir. So my apprehension is that other than the major language like Kannada in Karnataka state, there are more than about 56 smaller languages which are called as the mother tongues. Say for example Urdu, the Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, Banjara, etc., which are the minority languages. If somebody takes those languages to be the language of instruction in the primary levels, and then changing them to Kannada and then changing them to English would be a difficult problem. I am speaking this from the experience of being a language teacher and also a student of linguistics. So there is a kind of apprehension that, especially in the communities like mine, like the Muslim community, these religious gurus and all those insist that our children should be educated in Urdu even up to the level of SSLC. Then it is not in the interest of the children to get educated in the so-called mother tongue. At the same time, when they are equally, like we say, perfect bilinguals in the state language, equally advantageous for them to learn in Kannada. So I propose that there should be somehow kind of a advantage for them to choose Kannada, the state or language, as the language of instruction, medium of instruction, and they are equally comfortable. There are ways to bridge the gap between actual mother tongue and Kannada. How do you react to this, sir?
No, the policy document is this is the sentence within in the policy document. Wherever possible, the medium of instruction until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, will be the home language / mother tongue / local language / regional language. That means wherever possible, again and again, in each and every place it is wherever possible is there. So more clarity is needed. This is a policy. In the policy, the government proposes that the scope is there. Detailing will be worked out only after the policy. What are the detail? It will come later. That time we can have our own debate regarding this. Here the thing is that now what Majumdarji actually put the broader political frame. At this juncture, I think we have to read the political reading, not the detailed reading in this way. The political reading is that it is a kind of putting certain things for satisfying many people. They are placed for hiding or making we people to concentrate on this area where we are it is very interested for us, for the people, and thus they can restrict people to think that the more dangerous part regarding education in other sections. So it will be clear only after the detailing. After this is a policy. There are so many things to proceed. So that time we can go in depth regarding these kind of things. The actual thing is that just like Mayudaji told, that what is the context of this policy? The context is the national government's economic policy and all those kind of policies. They want to develop that kind of a citizen which is suited for that kind of a policy. Obeying citizens. They are actually, the role of the teachers are also, it is forced to restrict. Very good terminologies are actually used for that. Autonomy. The teacher can, there won't be any national pedagogic, that kind of prescriptions. The teacher can decide. By hearing, we feel that these are all very good for hearing, but the actual practice is not that way. So that is why we have to read these things in a different way, in a political way. Read that.
The new proposal of having 4-year teacher education course, integrated course with the graduation, will it make a person to become teacher better or worse?
If the role of the teacher is to deliver only, there is no need of 1 year also. If we want a teacher that is a live teacher, helping the child to construct knowledge, guiding the child and to help the child to maximize its ability, then a different set of teachers are actually needed. So it depends upon how how things are actually envisaged. This document is very clear. This portion of the government is very clear. It is just the teachers will be just delivering what is actually there in the package. You don't have any freedom. That is the major thing. So this plus 4 year or 2, how many years, it will proceed only by according to the perspective of the policy. The policy is very, very clear. So don't bother too much about this 4 year, 2 year, etc. in a different way. We are actually talking according to the present understanding. That kind of flexibility.
Soon they might also say we will record the package delivery one time and after that you will not require.
Yes. If there is a possibility.
One teacher is enough for several generations.
That is why the term hiring comes for the first time. For hiring the teachers, for the first time, that terminology came into so of course there is no need, fire will come. The credit also, I don't know whether minimum balance rule will also apply here. Then they will all the terminologies are very interesting.
Yes.